as well. I don't want to take any more than the hour allotted to me. So let's go ahead and jump in. NYU, like I said, has 3 full campuses. There are 3 full campuses of New York University: NYU New York City, NYU Shanghai, China, and NYU Abu Dhabi. We're going to start with NYU New York and talking about who we are as an institution. NYU New York was founded in 1831 by a man named Albert Gallatin. He was a former Secretary of the Treasury, which in the US is like a minister of finance. And at the time that NYU was founded, when Albert Gallatin was thinking about creating a university, the structure of universities in the United States was really different than what it is now. Typically, education was only for very wealthy white men. They typically had to remove themselves from daily life, from work, and go and study in these beautiful campuses with high gates and walls that were typically very rural or far away from cities in the countryside, and go and study and come home for holidays, of course, but kind of really distance themselves from the hustle and bustle of daily responsibilities. Albert Gallatin wanted to model a university in the United States based on the great universities of Europe. Universities that were in the middle of cities, universities that were very vibrant and bustling and busy, and places where the students were fully integrated into the environment that's around them. And what he did was exactly that. He set up NYU New York University, on the very edge of New York City at the time. Now, of course, it feels like NYU is literally in the middle of New York City. But at the time, strategically, he knew that if he puts it at the edge of the city would continue to grow around it. And then what happens is that the university grows and the city grows and they become fully integrated. And that's exactly what happened. This is Washington Square Park, which is considered kind of like the beating heart of our campus in New York City. And as you look around it, you really can't tell what's an NYU building and what's a city building, what's a private residence and what's a dormitory, what's a university facility and what's a shopping mall or a gym or a restaurant or a retail space. The only real difference between NYU buildings and city buildings is the purple flag that hangs out front that tells you this building belongs to NYU. This place is everything you see in the movies. It is fast-paced, it is diverse, it is electric when you're there. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to travel to New York City, but it's a really cool, really interesting place. It's really kind of funky and different, and people come from all over the world to visit and study and live there. NYU is the largest private university in the United States, which is something is not a small thing to say. There are over 4,000 different universities in the United States, and for us to say we're the largest private one is quite meaningful. It has the largest number of international students who come to the United States, and it also has the largest number of US students who go study away. That diversity is really important, and it's something that we carry across all 3 of our campuses, but even to greater extents in Shanghai and Abu Dhabi, and I'll talk about that in a bit. It has 230 different majors spread across 10 different schools. So there are 10 different schools that make up New York University, New York. For example, the School of Engineering, the School of the Arts, the School of Social Work, the School of Nursing. They all come together to make up NYU. And because of its size, the different types of specific majors that you can have or that you can take are much more varied than what you get in Abu Dhabi and in Shanghai. This is a picture of our Shanghai campus. It was founded in 2013, again, in and of the city. It is part and parcel of Shanghai. It is in the heart of the financial district in an area called Pudong, Shanghai. What's really interesting about our Shanghai campus is that it's structured to be both and. It's not an only American university, and it's not only a Chinese experience. It's both. The city is truly part of your educational backdrop. You're expected to go out and live and experience Chinese culture on a daily basis. Every non-Chinese student gets a Chinese roommate. Every student has the opportunity and is encouraged and hoped to become fluent in Mandarin Chinese by the time you graduate, even if you have no background in Chinese before you start. And so even if you're just interested in East Asia, and you are aware of China's position in the world and the very strong relationship that the UAE has with China, maybe you already speak Arabic, for example, and you're already fluent in English, and the idea of becoming fluent in a 3rd language that is spoken by a billion people and has so many opportunities for your future appeals to you, you should be thinking about NYU Shanghai. The degree that you get is of course fully accredited in the United States. It's an NYU issued degree, but you also simultaneously earn a Chinese bachelor's degree as well. So you're accredited to live and work and stay in China afterwards. It's really unique, it's really different. It's this opportunity, again, that opens so many different types of doors. The way the world is moving, both politically and economically, is towards Asia. And it's just really something to think about if you're even remotely interested in East Asia. Do a little bit more research about our campus in Shanghai. That brings us home to the UAE. This is our campus in Abu Dhabi. A picture of the city of Abu Dhabi, not our campus. You can see all the way down at the end of the Corniche near the presidential palace gates, which is that building over there to the right. It's very near Emirates Palace. This is just a picture of the Corniche of Abu Dhabi to kind of give you a sense of place. Just as NYU New York was founded at the edge of New York City, NYU Abu Dhabi has been founded at the edge of Abu Dhabi on Saadiyat Island. It is the most diverse college campus on earth. We're really proud of that. In our campus of 1,450 or so students, there are over 112 countries represented, 112 different passports on campus. Over 115 different languages are spoken. Of course, you have to be fluent in English to come to NYU Abu Dhabi. We do require English language testing. It is who we are. We don't have a foundation year in English. There's no like English language learning that you can do on campus. We expect you to come to campus ready to study at the university level in English, but we absolutely encourage other languages spoken. We love that diversity. We love to be able to walk into the gym and hear French being spoken, or into the dining hall and hear a bunch of students speaking Spanish or Turkish or German or any of the other languages that our students are coming in with. This diversity not only allows for students to learn from each other in terms of like actual language learning, for example, but also it broadens their subject matter learning. For example, one of our admissions ambassadors is a girl from Egypt. She just graduated. And she had taken a class on the Syrian crisis. And as you're well aware, I'm sure there's been a war in Syria since 2011. So the assignment that she got was to be paired up with another student in the class and go and do research in her home country's media about a particular incident that happened during the crisis, during the war. And the incident that all of the students in the class were given was the same. It's the same point in time. This date, this time, this thing happened. Go research it in your news media in your home countries and come back and report to the class. And every student was paired up. Her partner was a Russian student. She's Egyptian, he's Russian. She went and did research in Arabic in Egyptian news media. He went and did research in Russian news media. And you can imagine the differences that they found. Of course, the actual facts on the ground, the actual events were the same. But the language choice, the semantics, the way the sentences were framed, the word choice, the vocabulary used, the background that one news media outlet chose to use over the other, the way that they framed it in a larger context of global issues was completely different. Same incident, same actual factual event, but the way that they were presented to their populations were totally, totally different. And that's just Russia and Egypt. Imagine now you have a class of, let's say, about 15 or 16 students. Everyone is from somewhere different, and everyone is reporting back to the class with these nuances and differences of perspectives. That heightens and deepens your education. That, on a daily basis, blows your mind and makes you understand how truly large the world is and how interconnected the world is at the same time. And so every time you're sitting in a classroom with people who are different than you, who maybe were raised different or think differently or are worship differently, are seeing the world with a different perspective than you are, your own perspective gets enriched. It's part of who we are. It's something that we're really passionate about. And we, on purpose, will always be this way. Our largest population on campus are UAE nationals, but they will never be more than 20%. Our second largest population are US citizens, and they will never be as large as our UAE national group. And everyone else comes from everywhere else. And that is unique. There is no other college campus that does population demographics that way. Even though NYU New York is really diverse by American standards, we don't have a racial majority on campus at NYU New York. So there's no one race group that's over 50%, which is awesome. It's still an American campus in America. It's still the vast majority of students are US citizens. In Shanghai, we split it 50-50. In Abu Dhabi, there's no majority of anything. Our largest group is still a minority. Our largest group is still only about 20%. In some years it's about 18, some years it's 16, some years it's 19, but it'll never be more than 20. And again, it enriches everything. Your education is definitely colored by that diversity, and we want it to be that way. These are the majors that we have on offer. Although we do offer a few master's degrees and PhD programs, we are primarily an undergraduate degree institution. We are primarily focused on our undergraduate students. And what that means is that all of our amazing facilities, all of the research labs, all of the performance spaces, all of our studio spaces are serving our undergraduates. At a lot of universities that do have a significant research component, those facilities or opportunities are really limited to graduate students, to PhDs and masters students, but for us, they're undergraduate facing, which is fantastic. I know of students who have tacked on to faculty research projects as early as their second semester of their first year. At my university, which was a wonderful experience, but it was a very large public university in the United States, I couldn't tack on to a faculty research project until second semester of my fourth year, my last year. So it's just because my university was graduate student facing and just focused a lot more on the master's and PhD kids who were doing research. NYU Abu Dhabi is not that way, and we're really happy about that. So these are the degrees that we have on offer. They're what can be considered the greatest hits of a liberal arts and sciences curriculum. Greatest hits of a liberal arts and sciences curriculum just means basically that at most liberal arts and sciences universities, you'll find things like philosophy, psychology, literature and creative writing, art and art history, economics. But we have taken it up a notch. And we have all of those things, but we also have the bench sciences, things like biology, chemistry, physics. We also have 6 different kinds of engineering, which is incredibly rare for a liberal arts and sciences institution. And I just want to take a minute to talk about what liberal arts and sciences means. It really doesn't mean liberal versus conservative. It really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's more about using the word liberal in the sense of broad. Liberal arts and sciences is a way of thinking about your education to know that even if you want to be an engineer, for example, you need information from other disciplines, other majors, to make you a better engineer. For example, let's say you do great in your math and science classes and you're technically mastering your engineering material. When you go out into the workforce, into the real world, and some corporation or government puts out a request for proposals for a new project they want done, if you can't explain the political impact, the economic impact, the moral implications, the environmental impact of this project that you're going to build, then you're not going to be getting that proposal bid. They're not going to look at your proposal in the same way as somebody who was as comprehensive, somebody who did look at all aspects of it. Even though your technical skills might be superior, if you can't explain all those other aspects of the project, you're not going to get the bid. And those other things, the economics, the political science, the environmental aspects, all of those other things don't come from your math and science classes. They come from your ethics classes and philosophy. They come from your political science classes. They come from your economics classes. They come from all of these other disciplines that we force students to take in a liberal arts and sciences model. You still absolutely work towards a major. You still get a degree in engineering, but you have to take all these other types of classes to make you a better scholar, to make you a better thinker, to make you a better analyst, a better writer. And that's truly how all of American institutions were founded, like Harvard, Yale, MIT, Stanford. They're all founded on this exact same model, this idea of broadening your education to make you better at whatever it is you want to do. These are the minors that we have on offer. Minors are typically about just 4 classes that you take right after you kind of start thinking about your major. You can start picking up a minor. It's not an additional certificate. It's not an additional degree. It's just something like a little note that goes on your transcript that says that you did specialize or take these extra classes. They can be tied to the same discipline that you're taking, like they can be something similar along the same lines, or they could be completely different. In addition to the multidisciplinary minors that you see on this page, we also offer all of our majors as minors. So it is quite typical to see a student taking a major and a minor, but it is not required. These are our study away sites. No other university does study away in this way. Universities usually in the United States that do have study away programs offer students the opportunity to go abroad as a visitor or a guest of some other institution somewhere else in the world. NYU created what's called the Global Network. It's this connected way of studying while you're still an NYU student. So all of these sites that you see here in white, in addition to the 3 full campuses in color, are NYU staffed, NYU funded, NYU resourced. While you're there, you are still an NYU student being taught by NYU people, being taught alongside NYU people. We're all connected in this way that I've never seen anything like it. Like my phone that obviously was issued in Abu Dhabi connects automatically to the Wi-Fi network when I'm in New York. When I'm at an NYU training in New York City, my phone automatically connects. My purple NYU ID that gets me into the parking garage in Abu Dhabi is the same one that I use to get into the library in New York or into the dorm, like ground floor, because obviously it's a secure dorm, but I can get into the ground floor to talk to the security guard in Shanghai. The same system of library network that we have in New York City, where there are over 3 million print volumes at our library there, we can have a book delivered to NYU Abu Dhabi in 3 business days. The online journal database that we have access to in Abu Dhabi can also be accessed in our office in London. It's all just really interconnected, and you're only studying with other NYU kids. So you're experiencing the environment. You get to go out into the city of Accra, into Florence, into Washington, D.C., but you're still under that same NYU family, and you're still being taught with the same mission and vision and ethos philosophy of who we are, wherever you are. Wherever you are at any of these places, you're at NYU. The only places you can earn a full degree and start and finish are the ones in color, the 3 full campuses, but you can go away for up to 2 semesters to any of these cities in white. In addition to the 2 full semesters, we have opportunities for study away during our January terms. There are 3 terms in January between fall semester and spring semester that you are required to take. 2 of them can be study away. So you can go away up to 4 times if you count the 2 full semesters and the 2 January terms. We're on every continent except Antarctica, and we encourage students to take full advantage of this network that we have. It's not required, and we certainly understand that there are students whose families are not comfortable with them studying away. We absolutely get that. Full disclosure, my parents were not comfortable with me studying away, so we totally get it. But if you are able to study away, we highly encourage it. Now you've heard a little bit about who we are as an institution. You understand kind of our ideas about who we are and being bold and being diverse and being accessible, our locations around the world, what we have on offer at NYU Abu Dhabi. Now let's talk about how to apply. So I'm sure many of you have heard of the Common Application. Perhaps some of you have even started filling it out or have submitted a Common Application. It is very, very different than, for example, like registering for a federal university through the NAPO website. It is long, it is detailed, it's not difficult, but it's a little complex. It's a little bit more involved than maybe you're used to or have thought a college application would be. So the first thing that you have to think about is giving yourself plenty of time to fill it out. You can see our deadlines there at the bottom. Early decision 1 has already passed, but there's still early decision 2 as well as regular decision. Those deadlines should be moved up a month in your head. So if you're planning on applying early decision 2 and our deadline is January 1st, you should be hoping to be done with your application around the beginning of December. You need to make sure that you are giving yourself that much of a buffer to make sure that you have gone over your essay multiple times, that you have filled out your activities section properly, that you don't have any spelling mistakes, that you put capital letters everywhere they should be. I know these things sound silly, especially since you're all wonderful students, but they matter. When a university is reading your application and you have things that are misspelled or things that aren't punctuated properly or your capitalization is off, it looks sloppy and it's not something you want to do. So you want to give yourself plenty of time to proofread and to go back over your documents before you submit them. When you are applying to NYU Abu Dhabi, you will not find NYU Abu Dhabi listed separately on the Common App. We are listed just as New York University with the New York address. It's only after you start actually filling out the application that one of the first questions asks you to list your campuses of interest. And so you put which campus you're interested in, and it could just be one of them, or it could be 2 or all 3. There are several documents that have to come directly from your school. Your job is only to request those documents, but you cannot send them. So we need your transcripts, for example, that has to come directly from your school, standardized test scores, which I'll talk about in a second, as well as your letters of recommendation. We need one from a counselor and one from a teacher. With regards to standardized test scores for this year, NYU has gone test optional. Many universities around the world have gone test optional due to the pandemic, and it's really important that we explain what that means so that you fully understand. If you are required to take some form of an exam as part of your curriculum or your graduation requirements. So if you are required to take an MSAT, for example, in order to graduate, if you are required to take British A-levels in order to graduate, if you are required to take the International Baccalaureate exam if you're in an IB school in order to graduate, in order to fulfill your school's curriculum requirements, you have to take some kind of exam. Then we need to see those predicted scores. For MSAT, it's just English and math. For the A-levels, typically 3 is what we consider to be competitive. For the IB, it's the full IB diploma courses broken down by subject, given a predicted score. If you are not required to take some sort of exam in order to fulfill your curriculum's requirements, then we don't need to see a standardized test. When we say test optional, we mean it. So if your school typically does not require you to take the MSAT, for example, and you are planning on taking the SAT, the regular SAT reasoning test, you do not have to. For NYU and for many other universities this year, we understand that trying to find a test date, trying to prepare for a standardized test outside of your curriculum requirements, trying to get that done in this time is really challenging. And so we're not trying to make your life any more stressful than it already is by living through a pandemic and being a student in a pandemic and applying to university in a pandemic. So we've done away with that, and it's test optional. If you have taken some sort of external exam that is not required by your curriculum, like an SAT, and you did really well as compared to the university averages where you're applying, then you can absolutely submit it. It can't be unseen, so make sure that it is doing really well compared to the university averages. Most schools put that average on their website. If you did great, you want to show it to the university, that's fine. But again, when we say optional, we mean it. With regards to what Candidate Weekend is or its structure, Candidate Weekend in the past was a 2-day event that was held on campus where we flew students in from all over the world to come and experience life at NYU Abu Dhabi. It is a mandatory part of the admissions process. If you are invited to a Candidate Weekend, you must attend in order to be considered for admission. This year, of course, because of the pandemic, we did our last Candidate Weekend in March virtual, and it went great. The feedback was actually really good from the students that did it and participated in it. So that's what we're doing for this year. For all 4 of our Candidate Weekends, they are going to be in a virtual space, but it is still a required part of admission for NYU Abu Dhabi if you are invited. So all of our finalists get an invitation to Candidate Weekend. They'll log on. Some of the portions will be live. Some of the portions will be pre-recorded. You'll get to chat with current students, faculty, staff, meet other prospective students from around the world, but it will all be done online in a virtual platform. The deadlines that you see there at the bottom are very typical of US universities. They're crazy early. They're just really early, especially as compared to universities in the UAE. And it's just something that you kind of have to get over. There's no way around it. The deadlines are hard and fast. You can't come back to us in March and say, now I know I want to apply to you. We'll say, thanks, come back next year. So it's really important that you pay very close attention to university deadlines, especially US university deadlines. They're really early. There is no difference between early decision 1 and 2 except that date. You'll see obviously the date is different. Early decision versus regular decision is very different, however. Early decision means that you are applying to that institution as your top choice. That university is absolutely the place that you would go. If every other university on earth accepted you, this is still your top choice. And it's an early notification on our end as well. We will tell you earlier than the regular decision applicants when you are accepted or not. So for early decision 2, you would find out by February 15th. And for regular decision, you don't find out until April 1st. The nature of early decision is binding. And what that means is when you are applying to a university using an early decision agreement, you are promising to attend if they accept you. If they accept you, they are literally denying somebody else to give you that seat. So you can't come back to them 3 months later and say, actually, I changed my mind because X, Y, or Z university accepted me now, so I want to go there. You apply to one university with an early decision binding agreement. You can apply to 10 regular decision schools at the same time. That's fine, because you always want to have a backup if your early decision school rejected you. But you can't apply to 2 early decision notification plans at the same time, because you're breaking contract with one of them if you get accepted to both. So just really think it through. Make sure that the university to which you're applying early decision truly is your top choice. And there's no difference, again, between ED1 and ED2 except the date, but there is all those differences between ED2 and regular decision that I just described. With regards to the scholarships that we have on offer at NYU Abu Dhabi, they are quite generous and significant. We are very lucky to be in partnership with the Abu Dhabi government to be able to offer that generous financial aid, both to UAE citizens and non-UAE citizens. The scholarship process is a little different though for those 2 groups. So if you are the child of an Emirati mother or a UAE national yourself, then you do not need to apply for the tuition and fees, study away, room and board scholarship. The full scholarship package, called the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Scholarship for Exceptional Emirati High School Students, is given to you as a UAE national or child of an Emirati mother upon acceptance to the university. You don't have to apply for it. Once you're accepted to the university, then you get that scholarship. If you are interested, however, in applying for pocket money or the stipend, the personal expenses stipend that can be given to you in addition to the full tuition and fees, then you do need to submit the CSS profile, even if you are an Emirati national or the child of an Emirati mother. If you are a non-UAE citizen and not the child of an Emirati mother, then you need to fill out the CSS profile regardless. That CSS profile is really what the determination will be made about your financial aid. It goes to our financial aid office. They look over all the information that's in the form. It's really detailed. It asks for a lot of personal, financial, economic information that maybe you don't even know. Typically, students have to fill it out with their families. It asks for things that you just, like I said, might not be aware of. So it could be things like the exact rent or assets that your family has, or any tuition that they're already paying out, any sort of tax requirements that they're paying. So whatever their own personal details are, that's directly what impacts and makes the determination of how much scholarship you would get, if any. So we do offer a range of scholarships from 0% for students who don't need any assistance, all the way up to 100% for all 4 years for students who need full coverage. So it really just varies from application to application. The processes are kept completely separate. At NYU Abu Dhabi, we are need blind. So as an admissions person, I have no idea what you're doing with the CSS profile. If you're even applying for financial aid, that makes no impact whatsoever on our decision about whether or not to accept you. We're kept completely separate. The processes are completely separate. Again, we're very, very grateful to the UAE to be able to offer this level of financial support. We do meet full demonstrated needs. So whatever our financial aid office determines is the need that you have based on the information you put in that CSS profile is exactly what you get. Whatever you need, you get. So that CSS profile is really, really important. It is due a couple of weeks after your application to the university is due, and we try to do that on purpose to give you a little bit of extra time so that when you're applying to the university, you can really focus on the common application and then spend the next couple of weeks getting that CSS profile ready. The CSS profile deadlines are hard and fast. They cannot be moved. You cannot be granted an extension. There's nothing that you can do. So it's really important that just in the same way that you take the common application really seriously and get the stuff in by the deadlines, that you're doing the same with the CSS profile. The way that we teach at NYU Abu Dhabi is also really cool. It's very more seminar style and kind of discussion based than what a lot of large US universities are set up like. Our student faculty ratio is really small. It's only 5-to-1. That doesn't mean every class is 5 students, but it means for every 5 students on campus, there's 1 faculty member. Even our most senior classes are still really small. And so it allows for our students to learn not only from our faculty members with a very low power dynamic, so everybody's kind of made equal, but also the way that they learn from each other and the opportunities they have to speak are a lot more than at some of your old traditional, more lecture style teaching universities. The way our campus is structured is also about reducing power distance. Everything at NYU is strategic. And so at NYU Abu Dhabi, it's about form and function, being beautiful, but also being really functional and providing spaces where students, faculty, staff can all come together. And that includes our campus life programming and the way that we structure our campus as well. So you can see, for example, the way that we have a multitude or multi-layers of athletics programs. We have different opportunities for students to play students from other universities as well as within the university on our athletics programs, but our athletics facilities are open to all. So I, as a staff person, can go run around the track, I can go into the gym, I can go into the ladies fitness center, I can go into the regular fitness center, I can swim in our Olympic-sized swimming pool, which only there are 2 of in all of Abu Dhabi. There are opportunities for me to use all of the facilities that the students are using. And so it makes us kind of feel even more like a campus community, even more connected. Our student interest groups, our clubs, are something else that we think are really interesting. There are a wide variety of different types of clubs. So we have over 60 of them, and they can range from things that are based solely on interest and hobbies like baking or coffee or anime to things that are more identity based. So the Latino Student Organization or the UAE Student Interest Group or our Pan-Africa Alliance. Or they could be things that are based on future plans like women in engineering and science technology and math, or the Boys Education Network, which allows for our current male students to mentor younger male students in high schools around Abu Dhabi. So like there are all sorts of different opportunities for professional growth or professional preparation, while it's also a really fun club to be a part of. The way that our dorms are structured are also thoughtful and planned out. Typically in your first year, you do not choose your roommate, and the way the rooms are set up are suite style. So we have 2 students to a bedroom, another 2 students to a bedroom. In each of those bedrooms, there's a bathroom, and then a shared common living space in the middle for all 4 students. How you apply for housing is through a form. We have housing guaranteed for all of our students for all 4 years if you want it. If you want to stay on campus, you fill out a housing form. It asks for a lot of personal information. You fill it out. That gets reviewed by our housing committee, and you get placed with roommates based on similar profiles. What we find over and over and over again, and we know this from our students, is that even though you don't choose who you're rooming with your first year, typically you choose those same exact people your second year. So our student housing does such a good job of matching profiles that even though they were complete strangers on day 1 of first year, by the end, and they want to choose their roommates for their second year, they choose the same people. It's really a wonderful testament to how thoughtful we are in our planning and our processes. And we think our students are really enjoying the dorms. Just on a side note, the dorms are also really pretty. They're really spacious as compared to US dorms. Some US dorms are pretty rough, especially interestingly enough at some of the more prestigious institutions or some of the older institutions, because part of that culture or history or tradition is the age. And so some of the dorms are not equipped with like modern conveniences and things like air conditioning, and it's just a real challenge to live in some of those spaces. So our dorms are really state of the art, and they're absolutely beautiful, and there are cooking facilities on every floor of our dorms. If you are interested in cooking or baking, every single dorm room has a dorm common living space. So that's suite in the middle for all 4 students in a dorm. They have a microwave and a mini fridge and a sink. So you even have like a mini cook station if you wanted to do something fast and easy or heat up some food. The views are all nice. Like it's just they're nice compared to what I've seen in the United States from all the different universities I've visited. This is a picture of our campus. I wish I could say to you, come to Sadia, schedule an appointment, come take a campus tour, come meet with our admissions ambassadors. You all know that that's not possible now, unfortunately. We're even working remotely. Part of the reason why I came in exactly on time is because I was actually at another school in Sharjah. So we're all working remotely and visiting with as many students as possible. And while that has its positives, because I get to see more of you, the downside is that I can't welcome you to campus personally and tell you to come take a tour and see our beautiful facilities. This is a picture of our second floor. It's called the High Line. It's a 1.4 kilometer loop that goes around campus. It's modeled after the High Line in New York City. It's a park that was built on elevated train tracks in Manhattan. It's really cool. What's really interesting about the way our campus is set up, actually, like the physical space, is the ground floor is the dining hall and a lot of our classrooms, the vast majority of our classrooms, and the welcome area of the campus center. And then our first floor are administrative offices like mine and all the other administrative staff offices and departments. And then the second story and above are where our faculty stay and our students stay. They're on opposite sides of campus, so faculty on the north and students on the south, but they're on the same level. And I think that's part of the idea behind that, is to show you that we're all scholars, we're all working towards the same mission and vision. There's no, hierarchy of faculty and students in terms of actual like living spaces. Of course, the faculty housing looks very different than student dorms, but it's all on the same level. And I think that's really sweet, and a message is there. Our student dorms can be separated by male, female, if that's a choice that you make. That question is on the housing form if you would like a gender non-visitation dorm, which means only females or only males, or they can be broken down by floor, and students can come and go as they see fit. It is an open campus. We do not have like a curfew or a cutoff time where you have to be back on campus or anything like that, but it is also very, very, very secure. There are security guards 24/7 walking around all over campus. There are at every single entrance to every single dorm security guards. Your NYU ID is required to swipe in. It's very protected and you feel very safe on campus, but it is an open campus. Our location on Saadiyat is really within a few minutes of some of the more cultural-based organizations or institutions on Saadiyat. For example, the Louvre is less than 10 minutes away. Soul Beach, which just opened, is less than 10 minutes away. Manarat Saadiyat is less than 10 minutes away. The city is growing around it, exactly as Albert Gallatin intended for NYU New York. That's what's happening to NYU Abu Dhabi. This is our location. I'm sure you've come to Abu Dhabi at some point for something. We are located just across the Sheikh Khalifa Bridge from downtown Abu Dhabi. You can see our location in terms of its proximity to the Louvre and Manarat Saadiyat right there. And you know how fast things grow in the UAE. So it's really been a pleasure to see Saadiyat grow around us. When I used to come into work, so I live downtown and I cross the Sheikh Khalifa Bridge over there by the Mina, and I enter Saadiyat that way. Every time when I would come in that first year, I was blown away because you could see the campus in its entirety from the bridge. And it's just a beautiful, breathtaking site. It's 40 acres and it's gorgeous and it's imposing and impressive, and you see it as you're crossing the bridge. I don't see the full campus anymore. In just the 6 years that we've been there, there have been multitudes of buildings that have come up around it. And eventually it'll look like NYU New York, where we're completely integrated with the city and you can't tell where the campus stops and starts, and people are coming and going and it's bustling and it's vibrant and everybody is experiencing the city as part of their education. And we're well on our way to that happening. Just the last things that I want to talk to you about are what our students do after they graduate. What we're really proud of, some of the statistics that have come out of our students. These are the most impressive ones, I think, from this last year. You can see how many students held an internship, what our placement rate was, and just to highlight the Rhodes Scholarship piece. So the Rhodes Scholarship is a very prestigious award given out by Oxford University. It's a title that you get to keep for the rest of your life. It follows you around. You are considered a Rhodes Scholar forever. We have the highest number of Rhodes Scholars per capita of any university on earth. For a university of our size, for us to have this many Rhodes Scholars in the last 7 years is truly an impressive achievement. Our placement rate is also quite impressive. A placement rate just means the number of students 6 months after graduation who are either in full-time employment or in graduate school. Placement rate is something you want to consider when you're looking at other US universities. They should be pretty transparent about it. They should tell you what it is. 94% is crazy high. We're really proud of that. Really just think about what that means, that out of 100 students, 94 of them got placed or are working or studying 6 months after graduation. And of those 6 students who did not, some of them choose not to. So some students want to take a break. Some students don't want to work or go on to graduate studies. Some students got the education for its own sake, and then they would like to just, start a family or not work and not go on to graduate school. So 6 out of 100 students who are choosing, some of them are choosing not to pursue graduate study or work. So that placement rate could even be considered even higher if you think about the students who are making a choice. So it's really impressive. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and move over to a Q&A. I have another meeting, another group of students at Sunmark School in Dubai in about 13 minutes. So I do want to take some time and answer any questions that you might have. I didn't see any come into the chat. So I'm gonna hope that some of you do have questions. You can feel free to unmute yourself. You can type it in the chat if you would like. It's totally up to you. I'm here for a few more minutes. No questions? I appreciate you giving me the time. I'm really happy that I got to be here. Oh, I see a question. Is this Khalfan? Khalfan is asking if we have medicine. So in the US system, there is no way for you to study medicine at the undergraduate level. You have to get a bachelor's degree first, usually in something in the sciences like biology, but it's not necessarily biology that you have to have. You take something called the Medical College Admissions Test and you apply to medical school. Medical school is 4 years after your bachelor's program. Then you have to take what's called a residency before you could ever work alone as a physician. So it's a really, really long road. I have a cousin who's a surgeon who did 4 years of an undergrad degree, 4 years of medical school, and then 5 years of his residency. So that's, 13 years total before he could ever be a lead surgeon on anything. It's really challenging. It is quite restrictive in the United States. Priority is given to US citizens. Some US medical schools will outright say they don't accept international applicants. So for students who don't have a US passport, who are interested in becoming a medical doctor, there are other systems around the world that are a little bit more efficient or streamlined for you. Of course, if you are absolutely dead set on doing medicine in the United States, we will support you as best we can and help get you ready for medical school. Another student is asking about the ACT test. Again, it's the same as the SAT. We are completely test optional for the SAT and ACT. We are only requiring things like the MSAT or the IB or the A-levels. If that's part of your curriculum, then we do need those predictions. Hamad is asking if classes are held virtually. They are, but what we're calling it is virtual plus. So, excuse me, there are some classes, very few of them, that are going to be held in person in the spring. We have no idea what next year will bring. Fall 2021 could look very, very different than where we are now, or it could look the same. We really don't know, and we're of course taking our cues and our guidance from our government leaders, and we're going to just keep taking it, one week at a time. When we closed down in March, and I'm sure you all can relate because we were all in the same boat. When we went remote in March, we thought it was going to be a couple of weeks. Nobody had any idea that it would last this long, and we don't know exactly what the things will look like next year. A bunch of you are saying thank you, and I really appreciate that. That's very kind. You're very welcome. It's been absolutely my pleasure to get to chat with you. I would ask that you try the registration link one more time. If it doesn't work, then I will try to just get your names and email addresses from Ms. Iman, but I hope that this does work. And you will have my email right now because I'm going to give it to you in the chat box. So please do feel free. Oh, Mubarak says it's still not working. Sorry about that. And so I'll just keep trying to fix it. And Ms. Iman, if I could trouble you to send me names and email addresses, that would be great. I really do appreciate it.
Sure, Ms. Hanan, I will share them with Wajiha and Wajiha will forward it to you, or I can send it to you directly to this email.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Sorry about that, students. I'm sorry the link isn't working. And please do feel free to reach out. This is a super stressful time. Everybody's stressed out. You guys are stressed out. Your counselors are overworked. Everybody is on adrenaline all the time. The situation is dynamic and changing all the time. And none of us know what to expect. And so we're really happy to help as much as possible. You have my direct email address. Again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you do have questions. Thank you so much again to Ms. Wajiha, Ms. Iman, and Liwa School for having me. But also thank you for setting this kind of thing up. Not every school is doing virtual visits with universities. Not every school is taking the time to make sure that students are still getting their university questions answered. Some schools just raised their hands and said, we're in a pandemic. So really, it's an amazing thing your school is doing, and you should be grateful for it. I wish you all the best. Last question from Hamad before I go to my next school. When applying to NYU via the common application, is it applicable to the campus only in the United States? No. So to apply to NYU Abu Dhabi, you use the common application as well. You will not find us listed separately. When you apply to NYU, regardless of which campus it is, Shanghai, Abu Dhabi, or New York City, we are all listed as NYU New York. We are all listed as one university with the New York address. It's only after you select New York University with that New York address and you start filling out the application form, one of the questions asks you which campus are you applying to, or to rate your campuses of interest. And there you can select NYU Abu Dhabi. And in that case, we'll only be the ones who read you. NYU Abu Dhabi will read your application. But to find us in the Common App, you have to look for NYU as a whole. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Okay, great. Well, this was a pleasure, everyone. It really was great to get to talk to you. I wish that we were doing this in person. Please stay safe. Continue to listen to what we're supposed to be doing. Take care of yourselves. Good luck with your studies. Whether or not you're applying to NYU Abu Dhabi, good luck with the college application process. We hope you all take care and wish you the best of everything. Thank you again, Ms. Iman.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hanan. Thank you for coming, and it was a wonderful session with a lot of details, and thank you so much for all that time and your efforts. That's much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Best of luck.
Okay, bye.